episode 2. I hope that you all enjoyed the first episode. But I just kind of want to jump straight into it so we can keep this brief. Don't want to be letting you sit here all night. But what we're going to talk about today is kind of something I touched on towards the end, or kind of dotted all throughout the first episode, which was that you're not alone in anything that you do, or whether it be a thought or something like that you're thinking. And I actually have a few verses to share that kind of go along with that. Joshua 1:9 is a good example. Do not be afraid and don't panic, for the Lord your God. Before I'm the Lord your God, and I am with you with all you do. And then another good example is Isaiah 41:10. Fear not, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Now, I think it is so important to know that you're not alone in any stressful situation. There might be people who just, they just outright refuse to help you in this world, or whatever it may be. But the Lord will always be here, regardless of what you have done, what you're thinking, whatever it may be. He will always be there. And another thing we talked about in church today was talking about we talked about kind of like I guess you could say the you had a relationship with God and you have drifted away, and now how do you redeem yourself from that? And we were kind of given verses and things like that, and it was really, really good. And we got one where, and it's from Psalms 138 1, and it says, I will praise you, Lord, with all my heart. Before the gods I will sing your praise. And that's David speaking. Now, what's interesting is that gods is it's in I guess you could say it's in quotations, and it's also not capitalized, and it's also plural. Now, why would you say why is it written like this? It's because what David's saying is that he's saying that it's saying gods of the world that people worship. And I think that's one thing that our youth do, and like even adults do. I'm sure everybody does it, or has done it at some point. And I'm sure I have and just didn't even realize it. Is there's celebrities out there and all that. We may not consider them gods, but we obviously look up to them, right? And I was thinking about this the other day, or as I was coming home, I was like, well, what if that is the reason why a lot of the youth and a lot of people just do not come to Christ anymore? Is because they feel like they have their God, they have their peace, because they have they have those people to look up to, and so like and one example I can give is a lot, especially in my school. I know there's a lot of, celebrities, things like that, and I'm thinking, like, what in the world, like, this is who, you want to look up to. It's your life. I'm not going to, force you to not want to either admire them or whatever, but, it's just kind of shocking. It's like, this is just the type of people that they're looking up to, instead of, the one true God. And, I believe that's kind of what David is saying, that we, as Christians even, we might even worship somebody and we didn't realize that is not of God or is the true God. And, but especially that's a problem, I think, or not really a problem, but it's just something that I've noticed in the youth, and you could call it a problem, depending on how you look at it. But, kind of back to the other two verses there that I mentioned earlier, Joshua 1:9 and Isaiah 41:10, like, of course, we're going to have this just, struggle all the time, right? Thinking I'm so alone, well, not really all the time, but especially if you're going through something, like especially something heavy or whatever, like, you sometimes feel like you're alone, right? Well, like I said, there might be people who just don't reach out to you, they don't respond, they're not there. And I'm not saying that don't reach out to them, because there will be people that will reach out to you, and that's kind of what I was saying last week, or not this last week, last episode, is that there will be people that kind of they understand what you're either going through and have been through the same thing or something similar, and they can talk you through it and help you through it. I'm not saying to not go and talk to somebody. However, there will be people also that you go and ask or try to ask, and they don't respond or anything like that, and so you have to lean on and trust the Lord. And I think that is so important, just to realize that He will always be there. Just like it says in Isaiah 41:10, He will uphold you with His righteous right hand. He will always be there for you. And that is something so important to learn, is that even me, even through the tough times, sometimes that is just a good reminder that He's always going to be there. And I think no matter how deep you are in your faith, or how long you've been in it, how long you've been on your walk with Christ, sometimes the simple reminders are always they're good to know about, and it's just needed, especially in the youth, with all the I guess you could say the depression, and just other feelings they've been feeling, anger. I know that's one, disrespect. That kind of comes along with, I guess, if someone's angry or depressed, they may have anger towards others. And I think it's because they are being influenced in some sort of way, and it probably is because our society also, just, they allow it. I don't know what in the world, why this is, but they allow for it to go on. And I don't understand why they do it, whether they have some sort of ulterior motive, or if they just hate Christianity so bad. That could be the case too, because I feel like Christians are getting hated on more and more each day, and it gets even stronger. And instead of hearing us out, people just scream in our faces, which I really wish they wouldn't. Just I wish they would hear us out. But we just have to keep doing what we're doing, and we know the truth, even when others don't. And we have to keep spreading the truth. And just like I saw something, and me and Cody talked about it in our first, when I was on his podcast, he posted something a while back. It said, I can't remember the exact thing, but it said, speak the truth, even if your voice shakes. And that was so important, just something simple, because, people often get nervous because of, especially if you're saying, trying to spread the gospel to a friend you've known for years. I won't mention their name, but I've had somebody that, a friend for a decade. I've tried to spread the gospel to them, but it's just been a bit unsuccessful. But at the same time, I don't want to ruin what we have or anything, But also, and I've also just heard stories of people who they went to try, and it was just fear and other things. But the main thing was they just didn't want to ruin the friendship, which I totally understand. And it's just kind of a strange line to cross. Do you cross it? Because that's a big thing. If you can help them, understand and come to Christ, that is absolutely huge. But so do you take that leap? And that's something that people have to ask themselves every day. I have to ask myself that every day. Do you take that leap of faith and spread the word to them and risk what you have with that person, or do you just leave it the way it is? Now, if it was me, this is just me personally, it would, I wouldn't want to ruin the friendship, but at the same time, I think it would eat me up knowing I didn't tell them about the gospel, because I don't know where I heard the story from. Might have been Sunday school, or might have been just in normal church service. But there was a story I was told a while back, and it was about these two guys. They they are at the gates of heaven, and one guy, he's a devout Christian, and he did all the things that we were supposed to do, and spread the word and all that, right? Well, they're both at the gates at the same time, and he's let in, and because he understands and knows, but the other friend's standing there behind him, like, what the heck? You didn't tell me a thing, and so he doesn't go to heaven, and that's not what I want for anybody or any of my friends, that I know. Like, I want them to all know that this is how you have eternal life with God. And that was just one thing that's just like, that would be, terrible. Can you imagine? Like, imagine if that was you. Like, you're standing there, and you have a friend behind you, and they're like, you've never told me about any of this, and then they don't get to go to heaven. Partly because you didn't tell them. That would be such a terrible thing. And trust me, I understand that fear, and I understand, where that comes from, but sometimes you just have to push through it, because at the end of the day, that's the enemy telling you, hey, don't do this, when in reality, we need to do it because it'll save someone else, and they will come to Christ, or hopefully come to Christ. And I know that not everybody will, but what do we have to lose, right? Because it's spreading the word of God, and you're furthering the kingdom of God. So what do we have to lose? And for me, it's, when I can get on a roll and really start talking biblically to somebody, that, it's fun. Like, I enjoy it. Like, I get so much enjoyment out of it. I've had so many conversations, like with one of the kids in my youth group at Sunday school. I had a talk with him on Wednesday night, and it was just, he was younger than me, but it didn't matter. He was like so wise and just knew so much, and it was so good, just to hear what he had to say. And it blew my mind, really. Anytime I hear anybody speak, it's like that. It blows my mind. But especially kids around my age, or maybe a little bit younger, and even some older, just kids in general, it blows my mind when I hear them speak like that. And it's so good to hear, especially kids, and seeing it grow. Because I'm a part of that. I've not even been on my walk with Christ for a year. That's coming up in April, which I'll have some special stuff planned for that. But it's just it's crazy to see how much it affects kids, and how fast it can grow through them. And the Lord just shows how impactful He is through kids. Because some kids are more passionate about the gospel than some adults are, and and I'm obviously joking when I say this, but come on, adults, get on their level, get on the kids' level, because they're really showing y'all out. But it's crazy, and I love how He's worked through me and so many of my friends. Like I've said before on the last episode, I had friends who helped me come to Christ. I'm not exactly sure if I said that. I think I did. If I didn't, that was one of the ways I came to Christ, was with friends. And it was, an absolutely amazing experience. To start my walk with friends and still be on that walk with them. Because you were not alone like I said, you were not alone in your walk. You don't have to walk with it alone, because you have the Lord, and you can also have godly friends that can help you along the way if you have questions, which is a great thing to ask. Don't be afraid to ask questions, because that is one of the best things you can do, because it shows others and the Lord that you are willing to learn and curious about what you can do to further His kingdom. And it is, so you can make such a big impact just by asking a question. You have no idea, and it's crazy what he can do. And I'm so thankful for all that he's done in my life, just in this, not even a year, and all the people that I've come across. But I think I've covered just about everything I want to cover, but I do just want to say that it's going to be, check out next week's episode. We're going to have a good friend of mine on. Some of you might know who he is, some of you might not. If you don't, it's okay. Well, he's going to tell us a story and give advice on the youth, on what he thinks the youth should be targeting and helping their way and getting them to Christ. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.